Welcome to this edition of Power Wheel, a production of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. Here are the headlines. Federal government addressing power sector challenges in focal areas. TCN Akwa Ibom State government synergize on power transmission infrastructure development. TCN Ikeja Electric sustain interface on bulk power delivery. We hope to make your view exciting as you stay with us on this edition. I am Chinwenwa Anyao. The Minister of Power, Engineer Salim Ahmed, says the federal government is addressing the Nigerian power sector challenges through the implementation of key strategies in focal areas.
Engineer Mamman disclosed this in a keynote address at a national discourse on addressing the power sector reforms organized by the Kaduna Polytechnic, Kaduna. He spoke about the historical challenges of the sector leading to the privatization exercise of 2013.
Historically, the Nigerian electricity supply industry has suffered from the days of generation, stagnated transmission system, and distribution network that is synonymous with poor delivery. It is evident that the vertically integrated monopoly that was National Electric Power Authority (NEPA) was an impediment to the regulation needed to address the growing challenges of the system. Chronic inefficiency within the value chain and lack of investments keep pace with the fast-growing electricity demand in the country. This serves as the impetus for the comprehensive performance that the federal government embarked upon in hopes of addressing the systemic and parental on the development of the sector.
After acknowledging the sector's challenges, Mamman spoke of the focal areas that will effectively tackle these challenges.
Specifically develop 5 focal focus area design, actively and efficiently steer the sector out of the present challenges. We are determined to ensure the financial sustainability of the electricity market in our strategy to facilitate contract effectiveness. Additionally, in our quest, enhance universal access to electricity. We are developing economically viable upgrade projects that can be replicated all over the country, similar to the solar power project we commissioned here in Kaduna area today. It is also a focus area to fast-track the completion of the federal government intervention projects to increase country generation capacity. Let me assure you that His Excellency Muhammad Buhari, the Honorable Minister of State, and I are committed to delivering adequate and reliable power supply to Nigerian, God willing.
Speaking at the discourse, the Managing Director and CEO of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, Mr. UG Mohammed, raised some concerns on the privatization process of the power firm, saying it was part of the challenges of the current power sector.
Before you privatize the distribution company, you are supposed to determine the aggregate technical commercial loss. Scientifically, you are supposed to determine it. Because any company that knows how to run the distribution company will know that you want to gauge the performance of that company based on how far it has reduced the aggregate technical commercial loss.
He noted that TCN under his administration was working on investing in bulk power transmission through the diligent implementation of the Transmission Master Plan to boost electricity in previous unserved areas. He said that will attract the siting of industries in those places to boost economic development.
After doing the 20-year disposal transmission expansion plan, we came up with what we call transmission rehabilitation and expansion program.
The convener of the event and rector of Kaduna Polytechnic, Professor Idris Bugaji, highlighted what government should urgently do if it must achieve the Goal 7 of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. It advocates for the provision for all citizens access to electricity by the year 2030.
The only way to do is to fix electricity. That automatically will bring industries, that will create jobs, that will create development. And that competitive edge that we have of 65% of our population being young can now actually be harvested and invested and will be the great nation in Africa. But the key starting point is our ability to restrain our greed, to be disciplined, to be principled, will get things done.
The chairman, Governing Council of Kaduna Polytechnic, Alhaji Yusuf Hassan, in his vote of thanks, commended the minister for gracing the forum as he wished the minister's theme, success in the power reforms.
And wish him safe journey back to Abuja, finish his assignment. Thank you for coming, sir.
To solve power sector challenges and increase electricity supply, Governor Emmanuel Udom of Akwa Ibom State says there was need to sustain the collaboration between the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, and the Akwa Ibom State government. Governor
Udom stated this after holding a meeting with the Managing Director and CEO of TCN, Mr. UG Mohammed, in Abuja.
We've all agreed that we must collaborate to solve those problems. The interesting part of life these days is about problem solving. A whole lot of transmission lines, substations, sharing of responsibilities, how to get things to move, and trying to rework a few things to make things move faster, because we can't just be crawling. There are some of these things that need us to move with the jet speed. And I'm sure with the outcome of today's meeting, we'll be able to move a bit faster and also move very, very far forward.
He lauded TCN for the massive investment in transmission networks nationwide, including the Ekim transmission substation that was delivered through the parties' collaboration in the states.
Let me also appreciate what he's doing across the country and also his support to us on the Ekim project. The Ekim power substation is what will also do a whole lot in terms of trying to satisfy the yearnings of captive power in some of the industries, that factories that we are creating. By and large, we believe we follow up with one or two other agencies based on the outcome of this meeting. A whole lot of progress will be recorded, and it could also form a model for looking at other policies and restructuring things at places that we think things were not moving faster.
The governor highlighted the discussions he held with the TCN management officials during the meeting, especially to review the Kwaibo Independent Power Project, QIPP.
Specifically, we reviewed the QIPP project together and look at the challenges that we're having. Second project is how for us to do a substation in Oron. Oron is one of the local government areas in Akwa Ibom State. And then there's a 45-kilometer transmission line that we need to do between Eket and Oron substation, which we've all agreed that the state government will take up the responsibility of providing right-of-way, while TCN will also do the rest of the engineering, design, and build. I think with that, I'm sure it shouldn't be a problem, because I know where TCN incurs a whole lot of challenges. One of those major ones is right-of-way, as he had explained. And since government owns the land in this area, I think it's better we take up that responsibility from him, especially on that transmission line. Other ones will come up as discussed, but I want to believe that we'll get that to fruition as soon as possible.
On his part, the MD CEO of TCN, Mr. UG Mohammed, said Akwa Ibom State was one of the earliest states TCN started collaborating with.
We have collaborated with the state government, under which we have completed the 132 kV substation at Ekim, which we have discussed on how to put it into use with His Excellency the Governor. So yes, this is one of the collaborations we are happy to explore. You know, it is our interest to expand the transmission capacity and put infrastructure across the country and reduce the long 33 kV lines across the country to ensure that we increase the stability of power. So every state that can support us to provide the right of way, honestly, we will be happy to put the substation.
Mr. Mohammed mentioned other things the TCN management discussed with the governor.
How the state government can also key into some of the policies of the Federal Ministry of Power, like the eligible customer declaration, so that they can actually attract a lot of investors to connect directly to the grid so that they can have more stable electricity to those factories that are being springing up in Akwa Ibom State. So we are working with His Excellency, a very progressive governor, to ensure that we replicate, because if you look at the model of collaborating with state, actually, it's Akwa Ibom State and Enugu State that we started with. So it's actually they are the pioneers of collaboration with TCN. So we are happy to come back and continue with the collaboration.
The managements of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, and Ikeja Electric have resolved to sustain collaborative strategies on the improvement of bulk power delivery in the franchise area of Lagos.
The managing director and CEO of the Ikeja Electric, Mr. Anthony Udowe, reiterated this at a recent meeting with the management of TCN when he led his team to the TCN headquarters in Abuja.
This collaboration between Ikeja Electric and TCN has started a long time ago. I mean, the GMs in Lagos, from Engineer Okoye all the way through, we're meeting quarterly. So we are collaborating and we'll be making a lot of progress.
He said the meeting was to prime the Performance Improvement Plan, PIP, of the DISCO and to ensure that certain immediate issues are cleared to enhance seamless bulk power delivery for his firm.
Some of the things we're doing in Ikeja, specifically in Magodo, and we started in GRA Ikeja and Shonibare, yes, they say it's a elitist solution, but we're also going to look at some other areas. We are able to achieve this because of the support we're getting from the TCN officials in Lagos. So we want to continue in this vein to be able to make immediate impact on our customers. And as we say, customers are happy, they will pay the money. The money is not only for DISCO, it's for the entire system. So there are some, what we always call low-hanging fruits, that my colleague, Engineer Mohammed, will talk about. I'm happy to hear the MD say they solved all ECO's problems. So I'm already going away with joy in my heart that all our old issues will be solved.
The Chief Network Optimization Officer for the Ikeja Electric, Engineer Muhammad Abdullahi, said there was need for power optimization of Ilupeju and other areas under the franchise area of the DISCO in Lagos State.
Specific areas of our immediate need is what we want to just mention.
In his response, the Managing Director and CEO of TCN, Mr. Yuji Mohammed, directed the Regional Transmission Manager, Lagos Region, Engineer Lamina Adibola, to quickly work with the DISCO to achieve that. Addressing the press on the outcome of the meeting, Mr. Mohammed thanked the Ikeja Electric team for the meetings, saying it was result-oriented.
Ikeja and ICO has actually done some study where they posted that show clearly the areas that they have challenges as of today. And that's why we requested to meet with them to see how we can address some of those challenges. And we have done a pretty good meeting. We believe that we are going back again to go and review the system again, and we're going to do another meeting. I believe that this is the only way we can solve the challenges, interface challenges between us and our customers, which is the DISCOs.
He said although TCN has put up the Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, TREP, for medium and long-term investment in the transmission network, he assured that immediate interventions in areas of need will always be done.
But that does not remove the fact that we can easily move quickly to solve immediate problems that can happen as a result of either transformer capacity or any other equipment challenge, and that is what this meeting is to address.
On his part, the Ikeja electric boss, Mr. Udewe, summarized the essence of the meeting.
This meeting is to talk about one or two challenges we're facing on a part of the network, and also to understand the work that TCN is doing and to collaborate, because that is the only way we can move forward. We have a common goal to improve the delivery of power to the Nigerian public, and because we're all part of the value chain, this meeting was to come together, talk about the challenges, and more important, agree ways forward. Because it's not just talk with no action. We have agreed certain actions, we'll come back, and it's a continuous process. But we're already making progress and we'll continue to make progress. So it's a very beneficial meeting.
The head transmission service provider TSP at TCN, Engineer Victor Adewumi, in his comments said there are lots of transmission projects centered in Lagos to improve the bulk power transmission capacity in the axis. He, however, noted that alignment with the respective DisCo in Lagos was imperative to realizing TCN objectives.
So this meeting is just for us to collaborate. They look at our own projects and they look at how they can actually key in, especially for our transmission, rehabilitation and expansion program. And again, of course, during the meeting they complained that they have some areas where they think they have a constraint. And we look at it together and how we can solve those problems and then move forward. So basically that is what we are doing.
Let's take a break for a message.
Do not build under transmission power lines for your safety and health. Electricity power lines and substations, either for power transmission or power distribution services, are extremely dangerous when exposed to direct human contact. These power lines and substations transmit electricity that lights up our homes and offices, power our computers, TVs, and refrigerators. On the other hand, the same electricity when exposed is extremely dangerous. It can shock, electrocute, and kill anyone on its way. That is why everyone must adopt safety measures whenever we use or are close to electricity facilities like power lines or substation or transformers. For the safety of the people and animals, governments all over the world have approved way leave or right of way of 50 meters for 330 kV power lines and 30 meters for 132 kV power lines, and for 33 kV lines the way leave is 15 meters. People are not expected to be found within this way leave or right of way for safety reasons. The lines can suddenly cut and fall to the ground with very disastrous consequences such as fire and electrocution of anybody and destruction of anything, be it vehicle, houses or vegetation on its line. It has also been established that power lines and substation emit electromagnetic fields, EMF, which is dangerous to human health. The World Health Organization, WHO, has warned that people who spend long hours under or close high tension lines stand the risk of being affected by EMF and be vulnerable to cancer, leukemia in children, miscarriages among pregnant women, and other terrible diseases. It is therefore advisable not to build any structure or operate any business under or near any electricity high tension lines or substations. TCN wants you to stay alive, stay safe, stay healthy, avoid power lines. This message is from the management of Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN.
The Nigerian electricity market was strengthened in 2019 through tailored disciplinary actions by the market operator, a section of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. Engineer Edmond Eje was at the helm of this. He speaks on this and more expectations in this interview. From the commencement of the transition electricity market, TEM, the DisCos could not pay for their 100% service invoice as expected. What was responsible for the poor performance?
The planning was that right from the inception of TEM, the DisCos must pay 100% of their invoices, hinged on the fact that every DisCo has the obligation of putting up bank guarantee. This bank guarantee is the only thing that assures service providers as well as the generators that their invoices will be paid 100%. And it is one of the preconditions to commence TEM. And we believe it would work. And if it had worked, there wouldn't have been any need for government intervention, pumping in more money in the electricity market more than it did when it was purely under the government control. So we discovered that the discos were not ready. One, as promised, they didn't make any investment in their grid. Two, there was poor revenue collection. And the poor revenue collection cannot be blamed on any other person. It cannot be blamed on the government. It cannot be blamed on the other market operators or the transmission services providers. It would be purely blamed on the discos themselves.
Since May 2019, when the MO enforced the 100% service charge invoice payment by the discos, has there been any default in compliance?
Change always is very difficult. To shift somebody from his comfort zone takes some resistance. Yeah, when it was introduced, yes, the discos tried to resist it somehow, but when they discovered that we are fair enough, or we have been fair enough, that since February 2015, they have been short paying the market, nothing has been done. Some discos were actually punished because of the early resistance, but today they are used to it. Everybody has been complying. In other words, the regulator gets 100% of his service charge. The MO, the TSP, the SO, MBET gets 100% of his invoice on service charge. And then, of course, we're able to get a little for ancillary services. That's how it's been. So the performance so far has been okay.
The declaration of eligible customer transaction by the federal government has been lauded by sector players. It is meant to stabilize the electricity market. How has it fared?
It's been declared and everybody is happy. Manufacturers are happy. And it's been going on, but one would not pretend to tell you, that there has not been some regulatory protocols which tend to dissuade enthusiastic customers from embracing this. And notwithstanding, we've been recording progress in eligible customer transaction in the market. For one thing, the declaration itself created new customers. There were customers who are somewhere languishing. They didn't want to even connect to the lower voltages. But because of the declaration, today, new factories are coming on. New business outlets that can consume 2 megawatts and above are fast coming up. And they are now registering as eligible customers in the electricity market.
That was the interview segment on the market operation and the current improvements in remittances by discos for auxiliary services. Thanks for staying with us. We're bringing you more reports in the Power Flash segment. That is it on this edition of Power Wheel. We wish you a prosperous new year. Watch out for a refreshing episode of this program next week. This episode and the previous ones are available on our YouTube channel. You can also interact with us on these other platforms. I am Chinwenwa Anyao. See you next time.